today we're going to do a different kind of video. Today we are going to actually show you how I juice grapes, and we're going to try and create some fruit leather. I've done fruit leather with Concord grapes, which are a mealier kind of grape. We're going to see if it works with the Candice and the Himrod. So the first thing that I did was I harvested all the grapes. I'm not great at setting up video camera and doing something as long as a harvest. So we harvested all the grapes and we took them off of the stems, which is a very long process. It took me a couple of hours, but we have, probably 4 bags this size of grapes. I didn't have time last night to finish making the juice, so today I'm going to show you how to do the juice. So let me show you some of the tools that I'm going to use. The first one is one of my favorite things I've ever found. When I used to do grape juice, I used to stick everything in one of my huge canners and then just boil the grapes and then strain them to get the juice out, and that took forever. So I found this wonderful contraption called a steam juicer. If you can hear, it's got marbles inside of it that help you to know when you're running out of water, because you do not want to run out of water. So you put the water in the bottom, then you've got the area that holds the juice, and then the top part holds the grapes, and the steam is what extracts the juice. And what you're left with are grapes that are just skins and pulp and a ton of juice. That makes it so that you can create fruit leather with the grapes really easily. So the next thing that I'm going to use are my canners. We've got the large quart canner that I'm going to put my quart jars in and process the grape juice. Then I've got my smaller canner that I'm going to have the juice drain into. Then we just have all the tools of the canning trade. Now I'm not really like the Pinterest type person. None of my stuff is great and wonderful. It's all average. And I just want to show you that you can create wonderful stuff with an average kitchen and average implements. So anyway, let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is put water to the top of this, the bottom part of the canner. So we've got to get some water in there. So the next thing I'm going to do is put the rest of the canner on top of the pan with water in it. Next, I'm going to add the grapes to this basket. Now you can fill the basket completely full, and it's been a year since I've actually used it, so I'm not sure how many grapes it will hold, but we're going to find out. So here's 1 gallon bag of the mixed Himrod and Candice. So it looks like this canner holds about 3.5 gallon bags of grapes. So the next thing to do is put the lid on, turn on the heat, and it takes about 45 minutes for it to finish juicing everything. But before I do that, let me show you what the bottom of this looks like. So on this canner, we have a drain. And you need to keep this open and draining throughout the entire process. So the way I do that is I bring out a chair that's just tall enough, and I will put my quart canner or my pint canner on the chair and let the juice drain into that. So this is what that setup looks like. I'm going to turn on the heat, and when it's finished juicing, I'll show you the product. Okay, well, things are going well. It's about half done processing. What I'm going to do now is start to get the jars ready. I washed the jars in the dishwasher, and now I'm going to fill this canner with water and put the jars in it so that they can start to get sterilized and the water can get hot enough that we can immediately process the juice. Let me show you what the juice looks like right now. So here's the juice. It's processing away, and look at that gorgeous color. It's got the pink from the Candice, but it's still just a little bit lighter color. I tasted a little bit of it, and it's a definitely a milder juice than the Concord and the Swenson Red, but it's going to be just really good to drink. It would probably make a really mild jelly, so I don't think I'll make jelly with it. We'll just keep it as a juice. Okay, now I've got my jars getting ready to be heated in my quart pot. Keep in mind, I am not an expert on canning. If you would like to learn more about canning, you can go to like the Ball or the Kerr site and learn more about the proper ways of canning. If you don't do it properly, you risk harming your family. But anyway, I have canned for many years, and I'm just doing it the way I normally do it. So this may or may not be the way it is suggested by sites who know how to do it safely. Well, the juice is almost done. It's taken a little while, but it's still draining a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and start canning what we have. So this is the amount of juice that we have so far. It's a good amount. The grapes have cooked down quite a bit. And let's see, the jars. Yep, they are pretty well sterilized, and by the time I get the canning or get the juice in the jars, it will be back up to boiling. Here are the instruments that I'm going to use. We've got our lids. These have all been washed and sterilized. I usually keep a wet paper towel to wipe the lip of the jar with. We've got a magnet to take the jars out of the hot water. I'm going to put these in a small pan in warm water so we can start softening the wax around the edges. We've got a funnel, and we've got something to remove the jars from the hot water with. Okay, let's get started. Okay, I have everything ready to go. We've got the juice on the stove to keep it warm. We've got the jars just about ready to go. We have my small pot of lids that's going to just stay on warm, so it'll soften the wax around the edges. And then there's enough sediment in the juice that I want to pour it through a strainer into the jars. Okay, so we're all ready to go. Let's get started. Okay, so we need to leave the headspace on this, room for the lid. I'm going to wipe the lip of this jar off and put the lid on and stick it in the water bath. Now to get the rest of them done. The reason I wipe the lip of the jar is so that the lid will actually seal and not have any debris on it that will cause it not to seal. I'm going to process the quart jars for 5 minutes per the extension guidelines. That means they will sit in the water and boil for 5 minutes. So the jars are done. It's been 5 minutes in the boiling water bath, and all that I need to do is take them out and then clean up, which is my least favorite part. But vital, if you don't clean up after doing grapes immediately, it's a nasty mess. So after I pull the jars out of the water bath, I'm just going to leave them on the counter overnight. The lids have a little bit of a dome on the top, and if it's done processing, what that dome will do will get sucked in. That means all of the oxygen has been expelled, and then your whatever you're canning is preserved. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but there's still a little bit of sediment in the jar. Let me turn this off. Now what's going to happen with that sediment is after a while it's going to settle and form crystals. And those crystals are really interesting. They're actually what cream of tartar is made of. Let me show you one that I pulled out of one of my darker juice jars. Okay, so here is one of the crystals that I pulled out of one of my grape juice jars. I think they are absolutely gorgeous. They rival any of your rock minerals that you find, any of the crystals. But anyway, these are not fun to drink. Believe me, I've learned. So one thing that you will need to do, especially if your grape juice has sat for a while in the jars, is strain it before you drink it. So the last thing we're going to do with my average, okay, I take that back. It's extremely old yet highly functional blender. See, it's beautiful. We're going to make the fruit leather. So I have what's called a Nesco dryer that I absolutely love. It dries things really quickly. I just got it a couple of years ago, and I love it. I also have a really old dryer that I purchased off, it was probably in the 90s that I got it. It works really well also. It's just a little bit slower. You can also dry fruit leather in the oven. You'll have to look that up because I've never done it in the oven. But anyway, first thing I did was I took my tray. I have purchased separately the fruit leather trays because I use them a lot. And I have sprayed those with Pam so nothing will stick. I also wiped the excess oil off so it's not disgusting. Let's put the grape pulp into my beautiful blender and get started on making fruit leather. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of sugar to it. I'm not highly technical, but as the fruit leather dries out, it does remove some of the sweetness. So for example, my plums that I did fruit leather for, I had to put quite a bit of sugar in to make them palatable. Otherwise they're just way too sour, even though the plums are extremely sweet. So we'll just add a little bit of sugar. You can go online and get exact recipes. I don't follow recipes, I just pour in what I feel like I need. Now if you have an immersion blender or something a lot better, this will go a lot faster and you're not going to have to stir it like I do. But like I said, I go average, not Pinterest. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but it is really thick, and that's how you want it. If it wasn't this thick, if you hadn't removed the juice, you would need to boil it down a little bit. Another way to thicken it up is to add applesauce. I've seen a lot of recipes on there that say that applesauce does improve the texture. So let's pour this into the fruit tray. So this is what it looks like in the tray. I'm going to smooth it out. You don't want it too thick and you don't want it too thin. And you want it even. The areas that are too thick are not going to dry out as easily. Now this might be a little thick, but I am going to, we'll just dry it a little bit longer until it's done. Now I'm just going to repeat this until the rest of the grapes are gone. Okay, so everything is pretty much put away and cleaned up. I wanted to show you the dryer. It's a Nesco dryer. I am going to turn it to 135 degrees. I guess if I could see it. Plug it in and we'll be done. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trays of fruit leather, and a little bit is in the freezer. Okay, and then this is the box over here. It doesn't really have a name on it. This is the box for my juicer. I hope this has been informative and interesting for you. It was a challenge for me to figure out how to film and can at the same time. We've gotten it done, and I hope you have a wonderful garden adventure and maybe try some canning.